Hello guys, it's Jacob here, and because random gameplay or my face isn't being shown off here, you probably know what type of video this is. Or you clicked on the link because you saw the title. But anyway, it's time for another one of
Jacob's Nintendo History Lessons.
Don't worry, these videos aren't going away. I just took a little hiatus from them for a while. But anyway, if you've been subscribed to me for a while now, you probably know I did a video about the history of Rareware a long time ago, and well, that video was utter garbage, and I kind of want to redo it with the flair and passion that I have for video making now. Okay, this will discuss the long and glorious history that Nintendo had with its sidekick in the 1990s, Rareware Incorporated. So many of you recognize this company as the creators of some of the most critically acclaimed games of the 16-bit and the 64-bit eras, right? Well, if you don't, then leave the video because you don't belong here. It's only Rare fanboys allowed. So anyway, Chris and Tim Stamper were two brothers from England who had a passion for video games and the phenomena of its culture, and naturally they decided to show their love by making their own startup company called Ultimate Play the Game. After a couple of years, this company became one of the leading developers of the UK due to their dedicated philosophy towards game creating, and they believed they should only work full-time on games as a part-time employee resulted in a part-time game. Now these guys worked constantly on games and they were hardcore enthusiastic about them, and I wish more developers felt that way today, you know what I'm saying? And eventually the Stamper brothers saw a brighter future in game development for them when something called the Nintendo Famicom was introduced to the world. And if you don't know what this is also the interpretation of the Nintendo Entertainment System here in America. And they sold off the rights to their games, and then the company then began to learn how the system functioned, and then they did something completely unheard of at the time. They took development samples to Japan, where Nintendo's headquarters are located, and showed them what they were capable of. Now Nintendo responded pretty well. They gave them unlimited access to creating games for their platform. Now their new company, which was referred to as Rare, began to work mostly on console ports and smaller scale titles for the company, and Rare was the head of many games for Nintendo's platforms, and with all the money that they acquired, they had the means to get the latest tech for when the Super Nintendo launched. Now, they became the most advanced game developer in the UK by far, and Nintendo had noticed, so naturally they bought 49% of the company's shares, which pretty well made Nintendo the owner of the company at that time. Now they offered a few characters for the Stamper brothers to make games of, but they asked for Donkey Kong. Now obviously they got it, or this gem wouldn't have been made now, would it? So basically renaming their company Rareware, they had a fresh start in the world of game design as they had studied the Japanese way for years, and this led them to create Donkey Kong Country, which was the first game to use pre-rendered CGI graphics, and at that time, it was quite unusual for a platformer to feature two different playable characters on the screen at one time. Now from here, they went and rivaled the likes of Mortal Kombat with their fighting game Killer Instincts. After that, the N64 finally came into play, and the Stamper brothers were right there waiting to develop for it. Blast Corps was their first game, a unique little game from Rare, but it was nothing compared to the behemoths that they were about to release. GoldenEye. This was the game to own back in the day. For God's sakes, it completely revolutionized the console first-person shooter genre. 1 in 4 64 owners had it, and the fact that it was so critically acclaimed, even though it was a console shooting game of a movie tie-in that was in development for almost 3 years, is amazing. This was the game that truly showed that Rareware was capable of tackling anything Nintendo gave them, and because of this milestone, they went on to create ideal games like Diddy Kong Racing, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Perfect Dark, Donkey Kong 64, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and the good, but not as amazing as the rest of their games, Jet Force Gemini. I still like it though. Then the last game came into the development cycle from Rare, and it started off as a little game called Dinosaur Planet. And after the game's designers finished modifying most of the game, it was sent off to Miyamoto for approval to continue, but he noticed the main character looked a little bit like one of his. And if you don't know what I'm talking about Fox McCloud. So the game was scrapped and rebooted as Star Fox Adventures. It was a Zelda-inspired action game that then became the last Rareware game published on a Nintendo home console. It was a very sad day. Microsoft apparently began pursuing the Stamper brothers in the year 2000 to try to get them to come over to their upcoming console, the original Xbox. You know, cause I can't say Xbox One, cause, well, for $377 million, Rare was purchased from Nintendo and became an official first-party developer for Microsoft, and that's where the downfall started. Rare never really seemed to fit in with that console market. Now Rare is limited to creating things like Kinect games and avatars, and they're just a shadow of their former selves and have since then created maybe 1 or 2 games that have received any amount of critical praise. So sad. They used to be a titan, a juggernaut in video games, a driving force for what the gaming industry should offer with games and not the average platformer or the average shooter or the average action game. Rare gave the players something different, something fun, and some innovative experience that you cannot get anywhere else. And the Stamper brothers actually left the company back in 2007 to pursue other interests. I tend to think this means that they just kind of felt their company might have just been stolen from them and they were just kind of tired of the industry. Maybe that's just me and probably thousands of others who think that, but I'm just saying. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video and comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always guys, if you like what you saw here and you want to see something else that I did, just wait a few seconds and you'll get a link to see some more. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.